All right, friends, we're going to take a look at some books for Black History Month. And next month we'll be looking at women in history. So hope you enjoy a couple of these books. I will upload a few this week and then a few additional next week. So check back if there's some content you're enjoying. Climbing Lincoln's Steps, The African American Journey by Suzanne Slade. Abraham Lincoln was a great leader. When he became president in 1861, many African Americans were enslaved. But Abraham knew slavery must end. Abraham led America through dark days, when citizens in the North fought those in the South over slavery and other issues. Over 600,000 Americans died in the bloody battles of the Civil War. Abraham had to find a way to end slavery and unite the country he loved. He spoke out with brave, honest words, words that called for freedom for all. In 1863, Abraham boldly stepped forward for change when he signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This important document freed thousands who were enslaved. Years passed, but Abraham was not forgotten. In 1914, Americans decided to build a statue in his honor in Washington, D.C. This 19-foot masterpiece was carved from 28 smaller pieces carved out of white marble, each one carefully chiseled before they were put together like an enormous puzzle. The statue was unveiled to the public in 1922 in a building called the Lincoln Memorial. Since then, many people have climbed the steps leading to Abraham's statue, inspired to take another step for change. It's 1939. Pitter-patter. Children in their finest clothes gather near Abraham's steps. Click, click, click. Women follow close behind, coats buttoned tight against the cool spring air. Clomp, clomp. Men in felt hats and freshly shined shoes stand by marble steps. People of all colors stream toward the Lincoln Memorial. Many more assemble in the sprawling yard. 75,000 people crowd together. They've all come to hear the famous opera singer, Marian Anderson. Marian has been welcomed by kings and queens around the world. She'd performed in stately palaces and the finest concert halls, but she wasn't allowed to sing at Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C. because she was black. First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt spoke up. She said Marian should sing at the Lincoln Memorial. That Easter Sunday, Marian's heart pounded wildly as she took her place on top of Abraham's steps. When she began to sing, the thunderous crowd fell silent. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, to thee we sing. Land where my fathers died, land of our pilgrims' pride. The sound of change floated through the fresh April air as Marian sang the song Abraham had held in his heart. From every mountainside let freedom ring. Microphones carried Marian's magnificent voice over the crowded lawn and into thousands of living room radios across the country. As her voice rose in song, Marian lifted the nation to new heights of understanding. That skill and talent had nothing to do with the color of a person's skin. When the song ended, people cheered. Others wept. But Americans were still separated. On buses, in restaurants, and even in schools. Change. It happens slowly. One small step at a time. It's 1963. People of all colors travel by bus, train, and plane to Washington, D.C. 200,000 march for miles, eager to hear the famous speaker, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Pitter-patter, children gather. Click, 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 women follow close behind. Clomp, clomp, men walk toward Abraham's steps. On that hot, sticky August afternoon, Martin shared his dream that one day all Americans would be treated equally. He called for a brighter future where his children would be judged by their character, not by the color of their skin. Martin's dreams echoed across the lawn and crackled over millions of televisions. People listened to the peaceful man with a powerful dream, the same dream Abraham held in his heart. Martin's speech inspired a nation. Minds opened. Attitudes changed. People united. I'm watching him on TV. Soon new laws were passed and it became illegal for hotels, restaurants, and other public places to turn away black people. Everyone was given an equal opportunity to buy or rent a house. Businesses could not decide who they hired or how much they paid workers based on race. Although some people didn't like the new laws, more and more Americans realized that everyone deserved equal rights. And here we have photos of many who have helped this cause along the way. Mae Jemison, Condoleezza Rice, former Secretary of State, Arthur Ashe, a famous tennis player, Toni Morrison, a prolific writer and poet, Oprah Winfrey, Colin Powell, Andrew Young. Change. It happens slowly, one small step at a time. It's 2009. Pitter-patter, two children run up Abraham's steps. Click, 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 a woman follows close behind. Clomp, clomp, one man slowly climbs the famous steps. The new family that is moving into the big white house a few blocks away, the same house where Abraham once lived, has come to visit. This is President Obama, his wife Michelle, and his two daughters, Malia and Sasha. The girls gaze in awe at the huge statue. Their father studies Abraham's determined face, knowing that although America has come far, there is still more work to be done. Standing together, the family remembers America's long journey. They remember the people who came before them, those who bravely pressed on and stepped forward for change. Then Barack Obama, America's first African-American president, and his family leave the Lincoln Memorial filled with hope. The same hope Abraham had carried in his heart, because change continues to happen, one small step at a time. All right, and our author here talks about some that have helped shape that change, as millions have climbed Abraham's step every year to see the statue of the great man who inspired change. Abraham took a major step of change when he signed the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, but he knew many more would need to step forward to bring true equality and unite America. Throughout our history, many courageous Americans have taken their own steps for change, and they have helped create a better, stronger nation. Sojourner Truth took a step when she boldly spoke out for equality for all. Many years after being freed from slavery, Isabella Baumfree changed her name to Sojourner Truth. The name Sojourner means traveler. In 1843, she set out across the country to teach others the truth she lived by, that all people should be treated the same. During her travels, she was arrested, threatened, and harassed, but she never stopped. Wherever she spoke, many gathered. In 1864, she met with Abraham Lincoln at the White House. She worked for 40 years for the rights of Black Americans and women. Some of you may have heard of Frederick Douglass. He took a step when he wrote and taught about the evils of slavery. He escaped from slavery in 1838 by hiding on a ship bound for New York. A few years later, he gave a speech about the horrors of slavery. His speech was so moving that he was invited to speak at other gatherings, and in 1845 he published a book about his life as a slave. The powerful narrative convinced many people that slavery was terribly wrong. People who still supported slavery became angry and threatened him, but he did not back down. He continued to write and speak out against enslaving others. Jackie Robinson, Rosa Parks. Jackie Robinson, of course, accepted the Brooklyn Dodgers' invitation to join their team. He knew it wouldn't be easy to be the first African-American baseball player in the major leagues. And he was right. Fans threw food at him, called him names. Hotels refused to give him a room, and restaurants wouldn't serve him. But he patiently endured the jeering crowds and humiliation by focusing on his future. He exhibited great self-control, did not respond in anger, and continued to play great ball. Robinson's character and perseverance taught the world that everyone deserves to be treated with respect. And he is still highly thought of today, as is our Rosa Parks here. When on December 1st, 1955, she made a public stand for civil rights on her way home from work in the segregated city of Montgomery, Alabama. When a bus driver ordered her to give up her seat for a white passenger, she politely refused. Although she was arrested and lost her job, bravery inspired the black citizens of Montgomery to stop riding public buses for a full year. The bus boycott ended in December 1956 when the United States Supreme Court said that Alabama's laws separating blacks and whites on buses went against the Constitution. And that victory brought national attention to the civil rights cause. Rosa Parks later organized other boycotts and worked with civil rights leaders such as Martin Luther King, Jr. Climbing Lincoln's Steps, the African American Journey. Because after all, Abraham freed the slaves and led our country during the Civil War.